Good day, Broad Coven. Thank you for dropping in with me. We're here to do a little dive into the energies at play during this interesting period we're in between, in the liminal space between the Libra full moon lunar eclipse and the Aries new moon solar eclipse that's coming up on the 8th. We got Mercury retro in action right now. So we know there's a lot of revisioning, reinvention, restoring, renewal action on deck if you're playing your cards right. And I got another reality tunnel for you this week. So welcome to this creative community play space where we just approach life with a little bit of wonder up our sleeves, just interacting a little bit more of a creative way with the life force energy and see what kind of rabbit we can pull out of the hat. I know that I've been talking to people who've been sharing their experiences with these reality tunnels, and some really interesting stuff is coming through. So, play along with it. You might be surprised the way synchronicity lines up, and you'll really start to discover that you have more creative power at your disposal than we would think. Okay, so this is an interesting reality tunnel for this week, and it is for all signs. Let me just go ahead and call in all the signs here. So we have all of your energy signatures infused in this magical deck. We are calling in Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Ophiuchus, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. And this week we are being asked to enter a reality tunnel that will put us on the quest to find a key. Yes, a tangible key, okay? This key opens up a door to an opportunity you never knew you were needing or were even looking for, okay? So there's something that's a little unusual about this key and the way it comes in for you. I get that it's a tangible key, all right? So I've been wondering, like each week, what is this about? Why are we being asked to find certain items? And then I'm recognizing that, yeah, there's a little bit of a treasure hunt vibe. And it's also a little bit of that piece of finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, So it's just interacting with life in a more playful, kind of creative way that shifts the scope of your experience and also thereby gives a new sense of meaning or a new sort of definition to the experiences that play out in your life. Whereas before you may have just kind of like taken them for granted as just, everyday kind of happenstance kind of things. There's a different tonal quality that life takes on when you start to look at it as you are searching for that thing that will give some kind of meaning. Okay, once you find it. So it's kind of an interesting energy to work with. But what I realized is these items, and as they come in, they're really just archetypal symbols, and they unlock the doors of perception. So it's very unique experience too to each of us as individuals. And yet I've been noticing as people have been sharing their experiences, there's also like these threads of connectivity through that web of creation that we all play a part in. And so it's really interesting to hear the similarities and also the insights that have come forward when you are finding these items. So we're on a bit of a treasure hunt. I have no idea where this is leading. I can't tell you what compels me, okay? I only know that I get the memo, and then I'm required to show up and deliver the message. So I'm joining in on this with you, and as I've been talking about this, I noticed 333 on the clock, 444 on the clock. So we do know that help is really close at hand. There's a lot of guidance that's wanting to come through at this time, synchronicity that's lining up, that's leading us to a really significant shift on our path, okay? There's a real big shift on our timeline, and it's the way that we experience time, the way that we come to value time. Perhaps finding this key has something to do with time. Interesting, okay? I'm not sure what that's about. But this key could come in many ways for you, but it will be a tangible key. You know what I mean? It could be you actually find a key, all right? It could be that you see a picture of a key at a very specific time. And I do believe we had a key theme. We did. It came up last year, all right? So there is this energy of looping back around. This does have something to do with the passage of time as well, a passage of time between last summer and where we are right now. All right, Leo season coming in significantly. All right, so this energy kind of looping back around right now. There's some key that unlocks a door of opportunity you never knew you needed that relates back to that time. That time period is significant, okay? So we're just going to dive into this. We're going to get a download. We're working with the glow in the dark tarot because it's fitting. It's so fitting. Even though it's light right now, I know as I'm filming this, it's a little contradiction working there, but that's okay. We're working with this kind of contradictory energy. Also, in eclipse season, we can't see certain things. Certain elements are concealed. They're hidden from us, okay? Yes, what we can't see is this is a key that's coming in to provide a way to restoration, to bring in a certain alignment that brings a fulfillment that was lost or missed back there. There's something here that gives us a new opportunity that pulls our attention away from the distraction of whatever was spilt, okay? There's something that will unlock a certain misunderstanding in the consciousness about this that is perceived as a loss. It's interesting. It's not a loss. It's not a loss. It's actually your restoration. You just don't see it yet, okay? Now, I do want to bring this in before we actually start shuffling these cards here to get more details about finding this key. I was really pulled to call in the Pokemon cards. And I haven't worked with them in quite a while, but the first directive I got was to pull the top six cards off the top of the deck, okay, and to look at them. And then one of the cards was to discard any three basic cards from the deck. And I actually decided to discard these cards. It felt like this is past, okay? So this is something that's already passed. And we have Tainamo here, Thunder Wave, okay? And it talks about your opponent's actions kind of like being frozen. So I feel like we're in this state right now of suspended animation in relation to a particular tower that was delivered that created like shock waves, sort of a ripple effect that changed the scope, the lay of the land moving forward. And it's also having that effect in our consciousness. It's like this shock wave occurred in our consciousness. There's something that the collective consciousness has been trying to absorb the shock of, and it's creating this like ripple effect, okay? And with this ripple effect, there's things that are already shifting right now currently. Actually, things are being lined up in accordance with those reverberations of this initial shock wave, which was some kind of awakening that we each individually experience, but it's also like a collective consciousness awakening, right? So it seems like nothing's happening, but actually everything is currently in motion right now. It's just happening very much on the subtle levels, all right? So we're in this liminal space of suspended animation. And it's interesting here because the other two cards talk about like very much about what damage has been done to the opponent. And I just chose to discard these three cards from the six that came up, actually, because it was one of the cards that I got to play in motion with that six, because I felt like this is sort of like off with their heads. This talks about rolling roll out, okay? So I also feel like there's going to be a rolling roll out of new experiences coming in. It's like everything sort of has that same kind of like ripple effect energy with the way it's going to start coming into your path. It's like the road is being opened right now, even though we can't see it, and even though we don't know the lay of the land, it's going to be rolling out, and we're kind of riding this wave, okay? Riding that ripple effect, that reverberation effect of that initial shock wave that changed our way of looking at our life and our possibilities and what was ahead of us, not just personally, but collectively, of course, okay? But I felt this focus on this, like this attack and, you know, kind of like claiming the head of the opponent, like off with their head, 11:11 on the clock, was something that takes us collectively further out of consciousness. So I feel this is kind of coming up as what needs to be done to sort of like really open that road so we can ride that current to this rollout of changes that are coming in that are syncing up right now with our timeline. And I got the double blade here, right? So this is about making clean cuts. It's a double slash, actually, okay? It's a double slash. It's not just thinking about the ways that, you know, you need to cut off the sources of resentment or feeding energy to the past injury, but also the way you need to cut off the distraction of it, you know, the way that this is preventing the creative power from rolling out and rolling forward. So let's just have a look at what's coming in with this key, all right? We know that we are bringing something into alignment, all right? So it's a key that brings some kind of fulfillment in. But first we have to sort of cut off the energy that's still feeding the past. This is drawing our attention away from maybe recognizing this key. So you'll likely find this key in your environment in a moment when you're not distracted, when you're very present, right? And that itself is a key. The present is always the key, okay? Where the key can be found in that present moment, right? So there's something about that. And also, when we're looking for things, when we're looking for these symbols and we're sent on this treasure hunt, what we're really doing is lining up our consciousness with synchronicity. And in order to have that kind of timing, or what some would call divine timing, you have to be present. The more present you are, the more often you are able to catch it. I just saw 13:13 on the clock. So yes, coming into that alignment, coming into alignment with synchronicity itself and having that be a real empowerment. So all of these themes may be coming in with this particular reality tunnel. I do feel like it'll be a great moment of synchronicity, and the magnitude of when you find the key will have a particular potency or power to maybe disrupt this distraction with the past. It's something that immediately, almost like I'm getting this image of like a chariot charging forward and really coming into the present moment from the past. So it almost has like a summoning effect. Interesting. Ooh, of the star energy there. All right. So there is a bit of fulfillment that comes in from this. A long forgotten hope I got. And also something in relation to your north node, what your true destiny is. You see, there's been a little bit too much reflection on the past to the point where it's become almost and indulging in the ego, looking back at one's reflection and the roles they played in their situation, perhaps as the wounded one, a bit too long, you know? It's time to kind of like pour out those waters and empty those cups so they can now be fulfilled. Or I see their urns are pouring out the waters there, empty them already, you know? It's time to completely empty them so they can be turned up, so they can be filled. And it's also like a little something for the homies too, you know? There's this point where reflection can be a mirror in and of itself. You know, we talk about mirror magic a lot, but we forget about the magic of like looking back at our own reflection for too long, the reflection of our past and our experiences, and how that too is a mirror. It can trap us. Okay, so there's something here about shattering the mirror, shattering the hold the mirror has on us. It's interesting, this message has been coming through. So there may be a mirror piece that comes through also with the key. I'm not quite sure how these two combine, but I'm sure it will make sense later. It has something to do with vanity. It has something to do with one's own reflection. And it has something to do as well with deflection of what distracts so that you can arrive at the power point that provides the key that unlocks this door of opportunity. Okay, Aquarius could be coming into play. We know with Pluto in Aquarius that we are rebelling against some kind of false power structure, false authoritarian um, influence that has held us in a place of rigidity where we need more fluidity so we can ride that ripple, that reverberation of change. It leads to some kind of fulfillment for us. And that's what this key has to do with. I want more details about this key. And then we'll look at some more aspects here. Ooh, it's an alchemical key. It's an alchemical key that gives one the power to act in such a way that activates the destiny. We got the Magician here, big Aries energy, all right? Also Aquarian energy. So whatever we're finding here, it's some key to alchemy. It's some key to transformation in a situation that's been stuck in sort of a liminal frozen state where there's been an inability to move more the psychic imprint of what happened back then forward. It's like it's locking the consciousness in a specific place in time that's causing too much reflection, that's keeping one out of their power point, right? So I see this really, it's like mirror magic. It is, but it's in a different way. It's like the cosmic mirror being trapped in that cosmic hall of mirrors from too much reflection. Whatever key you're finding here, it gives you the authority and the power to act to bring about a new beginning. You're activating a new beginning that also activates your north node. So we know you're freeing some binding of fate, something that held you in place. And this is giving you the opportunity to move forward without obstruction. So this is mastering some deep internal lesson. So I feel like you're getting a key that unlocks a door that previously you did not have access to. It's like there's some kind of initiation you had to pass through in order to be able to even have the inner authority to use this key. Interesting. What do we got here? Oh, we have King of Wands in reverse, you see? And what do we got coming up here? Oh, these are all in reverse too. Yes, I see. Okay, we got the King of Wands in reverse. We have the Page of Cups in reverse. We have the Devil in reverse. So this is alchemizing some energy that is related to egoic gratification. Egoic gratification that comes from the drowning in the emotions, which is really interesting because that kind of brings in this piece with Dynamo here. Dynamo, it says, Thunder Wave, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So I think this is really like speaking. I don't even need to get the coin to toss. You know what I'm saying? It's like this is speaking of this place when you're tossing a coin. Think of it this way: when you're tossing a coin, okay, you're quintessentially like trying to make up your mind between an either or decision. And that reminds me of the Page of Cups energy when it's in reverse. It's really wishy-washy. You know, it's kind of carried away by whatever influence comes its way. And it's a bit of the Neptunian energy, getting caught up in illusion. Again, getting caught up in that state of inner reflection that comes a bit from vanity. Okay, it does. It comes a bit from vanity. And we've talked about this before on the channel about the 7 deadly sins or vices. Okay. And when we bring in too much energy into any one of these components, it's a little bit of our lower nature gaining a stronghold, which limits our effectiveness. We get a little bit caught up in that egoic gratification. It's interesting because the devil upright, right, represents Capricorn energy, which can really be considered be more in a place of self-mastery, um, being self-motivated absolutely to achieve objectives, to achieve certain worldly success. It can often represent, but it does represent when it is upright, okay? It can also represent overcoming the lower nature, having mastery over the shadow self, thereby having worldly power activated. A lot of people don't look at this card in this way, but it can very much be that activation of the 10th house of Capricorn, which is associated on the cardinal cross with the North Point, which Aries is seated at the North Point right now as the North Node of Destiny. So we got that initiation energy. And I do feel like this is what's been eluding, doing the inner work, dancing with the shadow, grappling with the ego, grappling with the desire to act impulsively on the passions, impulsively out of rage, impulsively out of the pressurized fire. The fire's been pent up for a long time, held in for a long time. The emotions are imbalanced. There's an illusory quality at play because a certain glamour has been cast through over reflection on the past that's trapped us in that mirror. Okay. And so now this is like sort of the energy being out of balance. Okay. Out of balance with the devil. And this is interesting for me too. This is a different way for me to look at the devil. I haven't quite looked at this card in this way before, but I actually see this as when it's reversed. This is when the lower nature is taking charge in the situation. 2255. That's a whole different way of viewing it for me. This particular card, I've never looked at it quite that way. Do you see? It's almost like the lower nature is in the hanged man position. They're having to get a little reflection. Is this so wise to move forward in such impious sort of ways? Okay. It's a bit of that coyote medicine. It's the trickster medicine activated, the ways that we give the keys to the lower nature to run the show. And that gets us caught up in our own reflection where we become paralyzed to act. We become paralyzed to act. So we're in this process right now of uprooting the lower nature. We got fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Aquarian energy, water sign energy, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, Capricorn energy. A lot of North Node energy coming through here, but there is something you're alchemizing here that's moving you out of this frozen state, this liminal state of inactivity. Suspended animation is how it's coming through for me because everything's still happening. It's just you can't see it yet. It's very subtle. It's ripple effects. Whatever is rippling back now, though, will have some connection point to last summer. I got Leo season, okay? Leo season coming in very strongly. There's a different view you'll have now. There's a reinvention also in how you want to move forward. And whether you want to use this key that you find to lock a particular door or to open up a new opportunity you never knew you needed. That's how it's coming through. All right. So this is the initiation point here. There is some initiatory doorway that you are going to be passing through that's going to open up access to certain quest for power is really how it's coming through. The power to transform your life and step more into the role of creator and to see this actually manifesting on the material plane. Right? But it requires some kind of resolving of a particular spiritual conundrum, all right? There is some inner riddle that needs to be resolved here. The key will help you solve this riddle, okay? Whatever key that you're finding here, it cracks the code, all right? Any more details about this? I'm going to do a cut of the deck here in just a moment. All right, we're going to do a cut of the deck. All right, tell us a bit about this activation that's happening for the collective. It opens the road. Okay, so the ripple effects, it's all rolling out. Okay, so the ripple effects of what was going down back last summer, last Leo season, tail end of July through August, okay? There's something that is finally rippling back, something that was set in motion back then. Now, potentially, it could be something that was set in motion from a different level of consciousness that you now have, okay? So there's something that you have transformed or alchemized in the meantime since you first set this intention. And you are going to obtain a key, but that might change how you utilize the key when this energy comes back into port, okay? Very interesting. What's on the other side here? Ooh. We got the 8 of Swords. See, that's why you need to use this energy right here. This is why you need to use the blade. You need to double slash, man, okay? You may need to double slash. I have to say, with the Magician coming in, with the Devil in reverse, it's possible that some of you alchemists got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. And you may have gotten a little self-indulgent in that regard. And you may have been doing something that not only bound something, but bound it to you. People often neglect this when they do binding work, even when they're doing it with an intention to bringing about some kind of protection, to prevent some kind of harm. They can justify it in that way. They think they're working on a higher level, but actually what needs to be understood about bindings is what you bind is bound to you. So in order to really have this freedom that activates the ability to alchemize the energy and move something forward, not only do you have to use that blade to cut yourself free, but the other as well. That's not for everybody, but that is coming in for somebody. You need to do some release work here, right? You need to cut the ties that bind. That's coming in for some. This is going to be something that is coming in to actually give you the opportunity to free yourself from that frozen place in your consciousness too. And that's what activates your new beginning. Yeah. You went from fool's gold to the real deal. Do you see? It's an alchemization of the energy that brings about the seed of the new beginning that will be the harvest. I love this. Okay. True activation of that North Node. Wow. That's really powerful there. Right behind that, we have the King of Cups. Okay. Water sign energy. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. This is also the emotions coming in, the heart on board, all right, to nurture this seed so it can grow to full fruition. And this is some alignment of energy from the past coming back around in the present. Where there wasn't the possibility of growth before, there's some kind of growth here now, but maybe not in the way you think. Remember, we got a little tricksy energy operating here. Maybe not in the way you think. Maybe not in the way you think. You might need to like get a different perspective, you know? You notice that? Like when you look at something, when you're laying down and you're looking up, you get a different view than when you're standing up, right? It's all about perspective. There's also something about looking up. Looking up to the North Node. Stop looking down at the South Node. Again, it's like shattering that mirror that's caught you captive. It's almost like it's had your place of reflection in the past that's prevented you from seeing this Ace of Cups. It's something, ooh, interesting. Whoa. That's really wild. Okay, just as I said that, it went black on my end. I couldn't see anything. Okay. And then obviously it really flipped the perspective there when I brought it back on board. Okay, yeah, there's something that's been hidden under the light of the moon. This is a little bit of a Neptunian glamour there, okay? Piscean energy, Cancerian energy as well. All right, so there is some new opportunity that's coming in. This is like big rebirth energy because we have death here, right? Scorpio energy. This is the rebirth. After death comes rebirth, renewal. So something that ended back then, something that closed or where the energy was cut off, it came to a place of cessation, or it was frozen, like frozen in time. Why do I got this image of like something, like I keep getting this message of something frozen in time? Like it feels like it's frozen in a mirror. But it feels like the mirror has been fed by too much reflection on the past. It's like a collective mirror work that we've done on ourselves, you know, through too much reflection on our past, looking down at that south node. And there's something we're breaking here. It's like a collective curse that is being broken that allows us to rise up into this, you know, victory lap here. There's something we're setting ourselves free from. This key comes in to unlock the prison of our own minds, this frozen place in our consciousness. And then we're going to see some new beginning, some new way forward as a result. Ooh, I like this energy. Okay, so I'm just going to get 3 Pokemon cards here. Okay, so 3 cards to represent 3 gateways. Okay, 3 gateways of initiation, because it does look like we got an initiation on deck this week. So let's see what the nature of these initiatory gateways are, right? Very curious to see what wants to come in here. What are the keys of these initiatory gateways? What are these gateways we have to pass? What might be some of the challenges? What is going to be illuminated for us with this key we find? What might it present to us? Very interesting energy. All right. I think I'm going to just do cuts, okay? 1 key that has something to tell us about our future. 1 key that unlocks our power in the present. And then this key sets us free from being trapped in that reflection of the past. What is this? Corsola, cursed drop. Interesting. Put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. Well, this makes me think of that kind of like 10 of Wands energy. It makes me think of the burdens that we take on from things that others we perceive, you know, did to us, okay? And yes, we may have had some kind of difficult experience with another, or we felt some pain in reaction to some action that another took. We can experience, you know, those daggers flying at us from other people, certainly, okay? But this is like we held on to that for too long, holding on to the injury and not recognizing the way that holding on to injury can be a way to hold on to the energy that in itself can be a very subtle form of control and attachment. All right, we're going to get deep here. All right. So I feel like you need to drop. There's 3 specific burdens that you need to drop. It's up to you to kind of like pass through this initiatory gateway and discover what are those 3 burdens that you're still holding, something that another put on you, and you decided, sure, I'm going to take that up. I'm going to carry that. That's going to be like, you know, mine to bear. I'm going to carry the weight of this forward with me, right? You're going to need to drop these in order to be able to head forward and really activate this key that you're going to find here, this opportunity. So this is about, you know, recognizing that when we choose to hold on to the energy of what was done to us, in a way, we're kind of like inflicting a curse upon ourselves. And it's just as easy as that. It's just as easy as choosing that I'm not going to take on these darts that came my way. That's not my rod to carry, man. I'm going to drop that. I'm going to drop that weight, and it lightens the load, right? So this is sort of uncrossing yourself from something you unnecessarily took on. It's actually your way of still holding on to the energy. You may not realize that at first. It is quite an illuminating moment when that comes in, when you recognize the way holding on to the suffering of what was done actually keeps you attached to the source of said suffering. So there's something about this. There's a pivotal moment that will come in with this where you'll recognize it. It'll be illuminated for you. This could roll out in many ways. It could roll out through an exchange. It could roll out through a communication, you know, or just a moment of awakening. Who knows? Maybe you'll find your key, and that's when, you know, you realize it. Something in your surroundings. Pay attention when you find your key too, like what's going on around you. What are you thinking at that time? What's in your environment? You know, what's coming up in that moment? It's significant, you know, it factors into the situation. Okay, let's check out this initiatory gateway that will unlock your power in the present. What's in reverse? Memory skip in reverse. I love this. This is interrupting that neural loop. Okay, so it's like we were talking about that, like the memory being transfixed and locked in a particular period of time that was creating almost this like vanity. Okay, because it can be self-indulgent to continue to look at the way you were wounded. This is a way we can really disempower ourselves, and it's very tricky. It's very subtle. It's a very subtle way that the ego ensnares us, okay? So there's some kind of spell the collective is breaking in this regard. Memory skip, it's in reverse. So you're no longer going to be subject to this memory skip. This key is something that completely disrupts that loop in the consciousness. And it breaks the spell. It breaks the enchantment. It's interesting. Mirrors factoring into this. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon attacks. During your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't use that attack. Yes, because it knows the lay of the land. So remember I've talked about, you know, you can focus so much on a particular feeling, quality, that you infuse it with a life force, it becomes a spirit. I want to explain it almost in this way, like when people make a mojo bag, for instance, okay, and they put all their different crystals in, and they put their different herbs in, and then they charge it up, right? They charge it with intention. They consecrate it to be a spirit of this thing, whatever that is, the spirit of luck, the spirit of blessing, the spirit of protection. It's, you're breathing a spirit into it. That's why usually when you have something like a mojo bag, you know, you give it a little tobacco, or you give it a little oil, you know, you feed it because you've imbued it with so much intention and focus that it becomes a thing. It becomes a spirit. Thoughts are things. So this is giving me this vibe of like, you've infused a particular psychic imprint with so much focus and intention through that reflection that you've sort of like birthed an ego within it. You've made it a thing, okay? It's become like a spirit of sorts. But in order for it to still be able to have the connection point with you, it needs to know the loops, the entry point into your consciousness, where you kind of take that online, so to speak. You download that programming, and it starts to affect your life in ways that you say is, well, this is thwarting me on my path. I got a block, you know. this person's limiting me. They probably got me on ice. No, it's that that place of the consciousness is on ice and it needs to thaw out. You know, you need to take an ice pick to it to, like, you know, sever that particular connection and rewire the loop. So now your mind travels in a new way, right? The way that your inspiration comes in fires off in a different way that no longer, you know, this can have access to. So I feel like there is this kind of awakening in the consciousness that happens here. You're getting free of a particular neural loop. Once you do this, it really is just gonna, it's like calling all of your energy back into this moment. You'll be able to focus. You know, this is going to shift the way you're able to activate your vision, your conscious vision, okay? Because it's not going to be getting interrupted. It's sort of like a skip in a record when you got this kind of psychic imprint on the consciousness. You know, some people call it PTSD. It is one way that it can manifest. You know, but looking at it from more of like a shamanistic perspective, any kind of dis-ease, disorder has some kind of spiritual basis. And this is what it is. It's like a karmic loop, right? This disrupts the karmic loop. Interesting. And then what do we got here? Okay, this initiatory gateway activates your power. It looks like you are going to activate it. I mean, this is a pretty good predictory precursor here with the magician. I mean, I see you taking an alchemical action. It's a very powerful action. It's a strong action. Ooh, and this one was also in reverse. Interesting. Lunatone. I love it because it's the new moon and it's going to be a solar eclipse. I love it. So that makes sense. Cycle, draw, discard a card from your hand if you do draw 3 cards. It says moon kinesis. It says this attack does 30 more damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. Moon kinesis. Yes, what we hide from ourselves does more damage than anything can be done by anything attached to us or that we're feeding with attachment or we view as the enemy or the opponent. Certainly what we have operating in our root cellar, what's operating on the subconscious level has a very subtle rollout ripple effect, but it's more powerful, more potent than what anybody outside of us can do to ourselves. I like how that came in, how anyone outside of us can do to ourselves. Yeah, it's all of us doing it to each other. It's all one energy. So what's operating on the subconscious is really potent right now, but there's some kind of protected force that's activated here that guards us from this previous like over reflection that leads to that Neptunian glamour, confusion, illusion, distortion, intoxication kind of energy. May even free you from some of that on, you know, the material level plane of existence if you've gotten caught up in, you know, numbing out, disconnecting, you know, indulging, imbibing, you know, taking in the vices as a form of distraction. There's something here that protects the true lunar essence I got. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and just randomly draw 3 cards here, see what we got, all right? I'm just going to randomly pick 3, see what comes out. 1, because I said to do that, so let's see. All in reverse. I probably should turn this upright, but I didn't. And I didn't for a reason, so let's see what we got here. We have the Dewpider hook in reverse, okay? We got Peony, Seafy, search your deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck, which is interesting because I discarded these, so we can discard these too. I like it because it's 3. This is what started me out with this. See, it's this kind of like looping back around energy. It should be very interesting. A lot of Neptunian influence, okay? So look for the glamour to be quite high. Look for the reflections that you see and what's happening around you and how it's reflecting back to you something. And do look a little for that sort of like, you know, smoke and mirrors, funhouse mirrors kind of energy. There is a bit of glamour that's kind of high, but it's there to really highlight certain things for you. There's keys within the reflections too. All right. So this is moving out of this like illusory kind of energy. Wave splash. Wave splash. Yeah. So it's sort of like, I got it. Okay. So whatever created that big splash back there last summer that created this sort of like ripple effect of what's rolling out. The thing about ripples is as they reach the outer edges, they do tend to kind of level off. And that's where the reflection is. It's like the waters become still, right? And when the waters become still, they also become very clear. So there's a certain clarity that's coming in that couldn't be seen before. And with this, we have Venonat, tackle. Makes me think of bait and tackle. You know, don't take the bait. Don't take the bait to, you know, to cannonball in there and make a big splash as well. Okay, so what's happening now is a lot more subtle too. There is the need to be aware of the wild card energy that's in play that's leading up to 420 when we're going to have that Jupiter-Uranus junction. That's a time of real activation. And I do feel like this is speaking of this, but there will be a great sort of motivation, desire to move forward, maybe a little bit recklessly inspired by the ego that could come in with the new moon in Aries on the 8th, but it's an eclipse, so we have a blind spot here. There's something about this key that illuminates a blind spot, and it gives a little 20/20 vision, a little clarity before you make a big splash and you take an action that could really burden you, weigh you down. You're also freeing yourself of some kind of repetitive like thought process, some kind of programming, some kind of neural loop. So a bit of a tower coming in that awakens the consciousness and activates your power. Activates your power to finally come into the alignment with the action you need to take. And I feel like it has everything to do with breaking the spell of this collective mirror work, this bit of vanity, self-indulgence with really staying in a place of too much reflection on the woundings of the past, right? Or too much reflection on the desire for egoic gratification that could come in the form of a desire to get even, get revenge. I was compelled both times to like throw away, you know, the 3 cards that had to do with conflict, that had to do with, you know, continuing to sort of like view the other as the opponent, okay? So there's something we're recognizing wasn't really our opponent as well. It actually was the ally to our victory. And I'm going to leave it off at that. It wants to be left off at that. There's some message coming through within that really wants to be preserved. So I'll leave you with that. I'll be really interested to hear if you want to share about your key when you find it. Something really interesting is at play with this one this week. This has more of a real like initiatory feel to it to me, all right? I do feel like there's going to be a choice. It's got a little bit of that lover's vibe choice, like at the crossroads choice. The choice is significant to lock a door or to open a door of opportunity you never knew you needed. Stay tuned.